first true problem that I've come across with this demo. I think what had happened was the old gas water heater had leaked, and that's why they replaced it with the electric one. But when we were moving the pipe yesterday, we could see underneath, and if you look closely at the base where the water heater is, that subfloor is rotted out. So I have to drain the water heater, move it, replace the subfloor, and then put it back before I can do anything else. That's really the last thing that I need to do before I can frame out the walls in here. So that's what we're doing today. I need to figure out what the heck I'm doing with that, because I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to do it wrong. Replacing the subfloor is the easy part. It's moving the water heater that's scaring me a little bit. So I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to come back. Then I'll record again once I know and feel confident with what I'm doing. I know I need to turn off the water and all that. Once I have that straightened out, I'll record, show you guys how I drain it, how I move it, placing subfloor, all that. So I'll be back. They have the power running through the floor, which means it's plugged in under the house. They have a hose already hooked up to the water heater, again going through the floor, which means it's under the house. Those are two unnecessary holes in the floor. Granted, I am going to be replacing the subfloor, but I'm fixing that too, because that's just not going to happen. So what I plan on doing then is, when I replace the subfloor, take the hose out. I'm going to move this. You can't see it in the camera. There's an electrical box right here. I'm gonna move it over like 2 feet. All the power comes from that direction, so I don't have to worry about slack in the wire or anything like that. So I need to move it 2 feet to the left, and then that's where I'm gonna plug in the water heater, because having it all under the house is really freaking inconvenient, especially since I don't want to go under there. I don't like it. It scares me. So I'm gonna have to do it today. I'm gonna have to go to there. I don't have anybody that can help me today. Really freaking pissed off about that. Like, who does this? So yeah, there's just a lot of extra holes in the floor, which is not okay. Bugs can come in. It weakens the floor. I don't want any of that. So that's getting added to the list, is moving the power and getting rid of that hose once we drain everything and move it. So stay tuned. In order to, there you can see the power outlet now. In order to know what size subfloor I need, I had screwed this down yesterday over that hole from the drain. I'm going to unscrew that and see if I can get a measurement of the depth of the subfloor. I don't know where the joists are, so I don't want to just saw into the floor. So we'll figure that out when I'm ready to cut out the old stuff. And where's my tape measure? Now I can see the subfloor better. And it is 3/4 of an inch. So you got a 3/4 inch pipe. I don't know where the next floor joist is. With the trailer, I don't know how they run, but so 3/4 inch plywood is what I'm gonna grab. I'm gonna go to the store now and get that. I need like a, I don't know, maybe I'll grab a half a sheet, whatever's gonna fit in my car, but I don't need a full sheet, that's for sure. Let's screw this back down. While I'm at the store, I also need to get some 2x4s to help put in some extra support when we do the subfloor. So I'm gonna run and do that, and then I'll be back, and I guess we'll just kind of go from there. So I had to do this with YouTube going because it was a process. If you've never, or if you have disconnected a water heater before, you know there are multiple steps involved, and I've never done it before, so I needed to make sure that I was doing everything right. So right now it is draining. So let me just show you, but I have everything disconnected. So the first step was to disconnect the power. I thought that the power went under the house because there is the power lines going into the floor. But what it actually is the wire goes under the house and then into my bedroom where the box is, the breaker box. So that's where it's connected. So I just had to disconnect or flip the switch on the breaker box. So I am going to move that wire so that it goes through the wall instead of through the floor, because then that's one less hole in the floor. They also already had the hose hooked up for draining. I don't know why that they would have that like that. I mean, maybe just for convenience, but it's an extra hole in the floor that really isn't necessary. So once I'm done draining this thing, I'm taking that hose off. I'm gonna throw the hose into my shed outside, and when I do need to drain the water heater in the future, I'll just hook it back up and do that way. Right now, so if you remember when we moved that pipe yesterday, there's a hole in the floor from where that pipe is. I just have the hose going through that. Yeah, right there. So when I replace the subfloor, obviously this is all gonna get taken out and fixed. You can see it's nasty. It's just nasty. I am very excited to replace that. I'm doing that today. And then up here, so we have, this is where the wiring was for the power. So I'll have to get that hooked back up. And then these are the, I'm sorry if you're a plumber because I'm not. This is where the hot and the cold water comes in. I don't know what the damn pipe's called. But I have these disconnected. So it's ready to be moved. We're just waiting on it to empty out. So once that's emptied, we'll be able to move it. Okay, so the water heater is done draining now. So I'm going to move it from this area. I'm already mentally preparing myself for how nasty it probably is underneath since everything's all rotted. I'm sure that there are spiders or even mouse poop. Who knows? It's gonna be gross. I just know it. I'm gonna pull it out and we'll just kind of go from there. Maybe. Hard to grip it. Oh yeah, it's nasty. Sorry, just getting a straight picture of my butt. Looks like there is an old hole underneath. This is still kind of draining a little bit now that I moved it. It looks like there is like a vent or something that is in the floor. Kind of weird. But yeah, there's some weird stuff going on here. So I'm gonna get some rubber gloves and get this cleaned up. There's a skeleton of a fucking mouse down here. Excuse my language. So basically, I'm trying to get up as much of that tile as I can. I'm pretty sure it's asbestos tile, but I would rather me be peeling it off the floor than sawing through it and making the dust fly. I know that I'm making particles come up regardless, but figured one is a little bit less bad than the other. So that's what I'm doing right now, is getting the rest of those tiles pulled up. And then I'm gonna have to cut into that floor. Trying to be careful, but because it's nasty, it's just coming right up. You know, I'm not a carpenter, and I know better than this. Like what they did. It's bad down here. I'll show you in a second. Alright, so this is the nasty that they have going on under here. I'm cutting all of this out. You can see where there was a leak at one point in the wall there. That's the other side's the toilet. So I'm sure there was a bad pipe or something, I don't know, but there's a leak there. And then this is all rotted out and gross. There's some water on there right now from when I was moving the hose and stuff, but other than that, it's just all old rotted stuff. You can see there's a lot of holes in the floor, but it works out perfect that there's a joist here and there's a joist right there. So I can just cut all this out and put in the new subfloor. This is also my opportunity to get this paneling out. And then I'm actually not even gonna hook the water heater back up until tomorrow, because this is gonna give me the opportunity to strengthen up this wall here. I'm not going to put a whole new frame in, I'm just going to strengthen it with 2x4s. And then same thing with this exterior wall. So take out the paneling and reframe this. So I'm gonna go and pick up lumber for that, because I actually didn't get my lumber order in yet. So I'm gonna have to rent a truck from Home Depot to do that, but that's okay. Gotta do what you gotta do when you don't have a truck. here so you can see my water mess from earlier has dried. So what I need to do is I need to cut basically along here. I still would like to remove some of these tile pieces just because if they are asbestos, I don't want to be breathing them in. I know removing them can release stuff into the air, but sawing them is going to be a lot worse, you know. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get up the remainder of the tiles around this area, and then we're going to cut into that subfloor and get it ready. The reason why I just did one piece right now is I can start to see better under there. Here's one. Alright. So now, let's see what's going on in here. So, I don't know if they reinforced the floor at one point or tried to or what, because there's an extra board right there. Kind of leads to nowhere.
Mom, I'm going pie.
Okay, remember, don't flush because we have the water heater unplugged. Okay.
Okay.
Love you.
Mom, can I bring my stickers here?
Sure.
So I can put stick one.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, this wire.
Mom, there's a hole.
I know.
So you can get the floor.
Yep, you gotta stay away from this hole, honey. a little bit left here, and then we'll be good to start doing what we gotta do. Okay, so with that nasty subfloor out, this is what we're left with. Based off of where that pipe is, I am going to have to run the boards this way instead of this way, if that makes sense, because the pipe's in the way. Typically, you want them to be that up and down, not the flat, but it's okay. We got to work with what we got, right? All right, so this is how much I've gotten done so far. I am calling it a night. I'm going to cover up this hole and be done with it. I drilled a 1-inch hole into the frame over there and rewired the power for the water heater. I started framework for the new subfloor, which I'll go into detail with tomorrow morning. Yeah, so stay tuned. Just a recap from yesterday. So I have disconnected, drained the water heater, moved it out of the way. I cut out the subfloor and started framing out my pieces. I had to, again, lay these flat this way because I have a pipe in the way, so I can't have them up and down this way, which is fine. I need to go cut 2 more boards to place in here, and then we can get the subfloor in. Now, when you're doing this, so I'm going to try to get a little bit closer here for you. So you want to make sure that you are measuring. In my case, I'm looking at, since I have the boards on top instead of with it, I need to, from here up, from the 2x4 to the subfloor, needs to be able to fit the 2x4s I'm placing on top, plus the new subfloor, without there being any, without it basically going too high or too low. You want to make sure it's right. So you want to make sure that you're measuring twice, cutting once, right? Measure twice, cut once. That way you're getting everything to fit just right. So let's go cut those last 2 pieces. These side pieces are 19.5. Okay, so I cut the 2 pieces. I was making a TikTok with you when I was out there cutting, so I forgot to film myself cutting, but basically, like I was saying before, measure twice, cut once. Got the sizes I needed. Now I'm going to stick them in and screw them down. Screw them down. I'm using 3-inch screws. I'm going to use 2 on each side of the board. Let me get these all ready here. So I have, so I need 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. All right. And then my drill. So I've already screwed in this floor in a TikTok video, or I'm sorry, this board. I'm going to screw in this board now for you guys. So we'll get that set and then we'll cut that subfloor out. I don't know if you can see. Not really. Beautiful. 2 more. Can you see that? Yes. And 1 more. The floor is nice and sturdy. We need to get a nice subfloor piece fitted in here. I'm also going to use construction adhesive glue with a caulk gun and add that in here for extra. Now I'm going to measure what I need for that subfloor piece. I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see. So right here, there's like a little lip. So I'm going to have to cut that into the subfloor piece as well, or out of the subfloor piece. So we need to do some measuring. Let me grab my pencil. So the shorter end here is 25 and let me see. All right, so I've got my sheet of plywood up on my table here. Again, it's 3/4 inch. I did get a 4x8 sheet. Obviously that wouldn't fit in my car, so I did have Home Depot cut it into 4 sections. So I have a 2x4 section on the table right now. So I'm going to mark it off for what we need to cut, and then we'll get to cutting. So let's see. So these are my measurements. Wrote them on a piece of scrap wood. All right, so we've got 19 and a half. And a half. Okay, so I cut it the 28-inch length. Now I'm going to do the 19.5-inch length for the, well, I should say the width, the 19.5-inch width. So I gotta turn my board and then we'll get to cutting that. So I have the piece all cut out. So we have the 7 and I already forgot the measurement. 7 1/4. Yeah. So you got the 7 1/4 this way, 2 1/2 this way, remainder there, 19.5 wide, 28 long on this side. So let's go get it placed and make sure that it fits right, nice and snug, and then we'll get it secured. So it basically fits. I had to go out and trim off a little bit of the width. Like I said, 19.5 was, it's like just slightly less than that, and I'd rather have to cut more than to cut too much. Now it's just kind of sitting on the top. I'm going to bang it in with a hammer once I apply the glue underneath. So I'm going to go get that in my caulk gun. We're going to get that applied, and then we'll screw it down. Sorry that this keeps getting broken up, but all right. So I have liquid nail, subfloor, and deck construction adhesive. So we're gonna go ahead and apply this underneath. You have like a little lever here. You squeeze that, and you pull this all the way back. So that allows you to stick the glue or caulk or whatever you have inside. So then you squeeze the handle, and it tightens it, pushes it towards the front. Okay? Okay. So now it's coming out. Lift up the board and apply the adhesive. Okay, so I applied the adhesive, and now I'm going to stick the board in. Okay, so it's on. It's still not, perfect fit, so I'm gonna bang it in. So liquid nails I did, and then I also screwed in. I did 3 screws on each board, and it's probably excessive and not necessary, but I wanted to make sure that the sucker wasn't going anywhere. But there you have it. Subfloor replaced. And now I can actually step on it and know that I'm not gonna fall through it. Yay, we did it.